All righty. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For those that I don't know, my name is Zach Posner. I am a co-founder and managing partner at the LegalTech Fund. And I'm thrilled to be joined today with the portfolio company of ours, Adam, the CEO of Cloverleaf. Adam, thank you for taking a few minutes.
Appreciate it, Zach.
So let's just jump right in. The first thing I always ask is there's two different things I ask, but one of them is correlated to what's an interesting fact about you that people would not know, or I don't know about you, even though we've had a relationship for a while.
Yeah. I was racking my brain on this one, so I hope it's interesting. But I used to build my own synthesizers, like musical instruments. I got really into that back when I was living in New York. Soldering, teaching myself electrical engineering, all of that. Modular synthesizers to be specific, but yeah.
Was this like high school, college, post college? Like what?
Post college. I loved music growing up. Let me see which direction is this direction, but there's you see some guitars back there.
Yep.
Got really into electronic music in college, as was the times, and then eventually found my way towards they're called modular synthesizers. They have all the wires, and you feel like a real mad scientist doing it. And then before I knew it, I was doing like essentially adult Legos, buying capacitors and computer, like tiny little computer chips, and soldering them all to a printed circuit board and whatnot. Yeah.
And is it different? Like, does it produce unique sounds, or is it just like you like the do-it-yourself type of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, they, in theory, the possibilities are endless. If anyone who is familiar with the modular synthesizer world knows that the one thing that connects everyone is just always the need for one more modular synthesizer. So it becomes a real buying situation, but it's like a real experimental thing where you kind of plug it all in, you set it loose, and it kind of does its own thing. And a lot of it's just noise. And then every once in a while you stumble upon a really cool, really beautiful sound. So it's kind of more like, exploratory, or just kind of like, just kind of discovery almost.
All right, so roll into the next question. If you weren't doing something in or around legal or GovTech, or I'm not exactly sure how you classify, the work, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I really want to long-term in my life to eventually make some sort of turn towards education. I think when I think back on my life, I think of a couple of teachers in my life who were just so impactful, pushing me to, I think of a college professor who pushed me to get an internship after my junior year that was so important towards my kind of career development, and a teacher in high school who taught me about being critical of media, and kind of teaching me some basic skills. And I think that knowledge is power, and knowledge sets you free. And so I think the biggest thing has always been that teachers aren't the best paid. And that was always kind of one thing that drove me back towards software, was just the financial opportunities. But as far as just something that I think fills up my heart and my soul, I would love to get into education at some point in my life. And I think that's something I would love to do if not for software.
No, that's actually super awesome. And what I've learned is, like, there's nobody that hasn't been affected by a teacher in some capacity, no matter who you are. It's like one common denominator. There's always one teacher that people remember or kind of think about. Jumping over to Cloverleaf, maybe a little bit on the origin, and almost like what the vision, what you guys do. And I have like lots of questions for you. As you know, we've known each other for a couple of years, but I'm fascinated by your work. And for me, I use an education example, thinking about school boards and how you guys are helping to provide a lot of transparency there. But go for it.
Yeah. So just at a high level, we like to call ourselves the earliest alert system for what's happening in the government. So two big use cases for anyone selling into the government: we provide the earliest sales leads, so getting you well ahead of an RFP. The first time a community mentions a problem or a need for a solution, we're going to get you that alert the next morning after that meeting happens, so you can get ahead of it, kind of pitch the community, find the stakeholders, and be able to lobby for your company. And then on the other side, the government affairs, kind of public policy, regulatory, same general principle, right? That rather than waiting for something to go become regulation or even get proposed as a bill, by that time, there's already a lot of momentum on it, around it. And so getting well ahead of those conversations and understanding what's coming down the pike and what matters to communities. We cover from a local level all up to the federal. So we have clients that are interested at every stage of government, and we're just kind of helping them stay ahead of issues so that we can make sure that legislators are aware of kind of all the facts, because ultimately speaking, legislators are not experts in all these areas, right? That's what these companies are. So making sure they can get out there and kind of share their side of the story.
This concept of communities, can you please explain the volume? Because this is something
Yeah.
that kind of blew me away when we first started talking.
Yeah, I mean, we're monitoring over 22,000 agencies at all levels right now. So from the local up to the federal, obviously, in terms of the volume, more of them are at the local level than the federal and the state. But we're in hundreds of covering hundreds of different state agencies, all the legislatures, like 80 federal committees, and then everything at a local level. So that's your county commissioner, that's your city council. Those are your water districts and your zoning boards and your planning commissions and your parks and recs. And to Zach's point, we're well over 1,000 different school boards that we're monitoring. So essentially, if it's a government agency, if it's a public meeting, if it's public record and our clients find it valuable, then we will go capture that. And at some basic level, the more coverage we provide, the more valuable we are to our customers, because you never know what random school board or county commissioner might be saying something or having an opportunity that is monumentally impactful on your business.
And to give a sense, like this, it's one thing. I think you said north of 20,000 entities or communities, I guess you could say. But these are actually meeting like monthly in some cases.
Oh yeah. I mean, to give you an idea in the scale of data, the last 30 days, we've pulled in something like 50,000 hours worth of footage and processed that. And that's from 40,000 plus meetings. There's a competitor of ours who used a phrase and they have 6.5 million minutes of transcripts, and we're pulling in somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million minutes of transcripts a month. So just the scale of data we're covering is unparalleled within our industry, at least in terms of the video and the meetings themselves. A lot of other people have made strides in agendas and minutes, but we like to focus on the video because we find it to be the most valuable source of information, because it is the communities talking in their own words. It is timely, and it is comprehensive.
So give me like a before and after. I'm a client. I'm a prospective client. What am I doing today? What am I doing after?
Sure. So I'll focus on the government contractors, because that's where so much of our outreach right now is focused. But the parallels work on the GA side of things, the government affairs side too. But before you're monitoring news articles potentially for our government contractors, you're looking at RFP finders, so like sam.gov at the federal level. At the local level, pretty much every city and county has its own procurement website. So you're trolling those, looking for opportunities that fit your industry. And once you find one, you're making a low bid. You're hoping your name gets picked out of a hat with 20 people. You're hoping that the mayor doesn't have someone they went to high school with who happens to work in your industry and sells your service. So that's the before. The after is that months before that RFP hits the streets, you're informed by Cloverleaf about, for instance, we work with waste management companies. You're informed that a community is looking to, or is going to have a waste RFP going out for bid in a couple of months. You're going to find out about that the day after the meeting. You're going to call up that city manager. You're going to talk to them. You're going to potentially go to the next city council meeting, which is still 2 city council meetings before that RFP gets released. You'll be able to make your case, talk about the other communities you helped, and be able to position your company to win that RFP, either on the open bid or even by something called single sourcing, which is a vehicle that a lot of communities use to source government work, which is essentially like a closed RFP, where the RFP is written with a specific company in mind due to kind of technology concerns or requirements that only one vendor can fulfill.
So you guys started this prior to, a lot of things in my mind go back to, I think like it was November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT kind of made its debut with that demo that kind of captured everybody's attention. So you were thinking about this before all the LLM revolution. Has that been an accelerant for the work that you do on the technology side, or how are you thinking about bringing in some of that tech?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, LLMs were definitely not the kind of ubiquitous tool that they are now, right? That I don't think I know a company today that's not leveraging LLMs on some part of their technology. I was talking to a drone company that's using it just to build a chat bot for their inbound lead funnel, right? So everyone's building some tool, but we're part of that as well. And we're, over the last year especially, we've been leveraging LLMs a ton in our work, really to do post-processing of the transcript. So, a lot of our tool is keyword matching. So, asking clients to put in the things they care about and find moments where they're being mentioned in the government meetings. But what we can do is we can create profiles for our users. So let's say, hey, I just got done with talking to a renewable company. So let's say, hey, I'm the head of land development for a wind renewable company. I'm interested in kind of negative sentiment, local sentiment that might kill my projects. I'm interested in zoning discussions and land use discussions about regulations that might be changing. We'll feed all of that in along with the transcript to an LLM and get back a personalized summary. So being able to tell it just exactly what matters to me. A lot of these meetings, kind of to what you're getting at, Zach, are 2, 3, 5 hours long. And for most companies, it's 3 to 5 minutes that actually matters to you. So how do we pick out just that part, summarize it for you, so you can very quickly understand? We always like to say that the value of the platform isn't the information you find, it's what you do with it. And so we're trying to keep you concentrated on finding what you can as quickly as possible and getting back to doing what you get paid for, what makes your company money.
So I am well aware of just that, like, people are really enjoying the product and things along those lines. Where does this go? Like, if everything kind of goes your vision, like, what does this look like 5-10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, there's two big words, like two kind of like general words we use that, and when I think about it, which is automated and prescriptive. So the more we can automate functions, the better for people. Back to that, like, everyone is so busy right now. I know, the two of us on this call are included in that as well, right? And so when we're kind of pitch new tools and new products, if the more time it takes to use it and to involve yourself with it, the less valuable it is inherently. So the more we can do to automate things like automating outreach for our customers, even just those summaries I was talking about, how we digest it down. And then on the prescriptive side, it's rather than saying, hey, this is something that happened, being able to tell people, like, we have confidence that this signal happened and it's going to lead to this. So prescriptive and predictive. So, hey, this is coming down the pike and this is what you should do with it. And we're seeing that these sorts of outreach, these sorts of responses, this sort of action is having this sort of effect. The more we can do that, the more we can get from kind of a mere sort of productivity tool to kind of a replacement for certain functions, lower level functions within businesses, and just making companies way more efficient and way more productive.
Yeah. And what do you look at with barriers or challenges out there right now with you guys when you're talking to customers? Are they blown away by this? Because this is obviously pretty fascinating stuff compared to what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty universal. A lot of times people are a little skeptical coming into the call. There's a lot of people who have claimed to do, to track RFPs and help you manage regulation and all that stuff. People have had a lot of our customers and prospects have had bad experiences with tools like ours. I'll say within the first couple of minutes, they're usually pretty blown away. And their first response is usually something like, wow, this is really cool. It's pretty obvious. Like it's one of those things that, like, you guys thought of this all on your own, and you're like, yeah, we really put this together. It was kind of the same thing. My co-founder, Jeremy's the one who originally came up with the idea. And when he first told me about it, I really had one question. I was like, and no one else is doing this. Like, it kind of blew my mind because it was so obvious in a way. So I'd say that's the sort of excitement. Some of the struggles we run into, or the challenges, is that it's a new way of kind of hunting for leads and hunting for procurement, especially on the government contractor side, that a lot of these companies are used to kind of the old way of doing things where they're looking for bids. They have that team. So we're kind of asking them to build out a new function or to kind of rethink the way they do things a little bit. And there's always the challenge there where I'm not trying to come off as I know your business better than you, or, I know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to offer you a tool where I think I can make you even more money than you're making today. And so that's kind of one of the challenges there. And then like a long-term challenge would be just that, in theory, what we like to think is that the tool is democratizing access to government and creating more competition, which in theory should end up with better services and better laws and regulations for communities, because more people get to be involved in the conversation. A long-term challenge I could see is that, maybe governments don't love the fact that we're exposing their data and exposing their conversations, even though they are public record. And so maybe we start to get some pushback on that level. But
what about that side? Like the construct of, you mentioned 22,000 communities. Like, I mean, a lot of them have like their own different setups. Like, is it just like one thing at a time? Is it just a kind of a one video at a time you're looking at and trying to figure out how you're going to integrate that in with your systems? Or
yeah, we've built some tooling. We have an incredible engineering team here that I'm not coding. I built the original version.
Background, in fairness.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's your background.
Yes. I built the original version of the platform, but they have taken it over for the last year and a half, and done things with it that I was never. I was a very practical engineer always. So I was always like, hey, let's just build this thing, get to the next thing, to get to the next step. I have a couple engineers on the team that really think outside the box and are really technology people, and truly invested in trying to figure out the coolest problems. And so we built some tooling that allows us to integrate really quickly with all the bespoke sites and kind of all the different local agencies. And we could get to avoid kind of having to deploy new code, which for those of you who build technology know that once you have to deploy something, it just inherently has kind of like a 1, 2, 3 day lag to it. And so it allows us to be really responsive. It allows us to leverage kind of more junior talent to build these integrations rather than relying on senior engineers, which are more expensive. And so, yeah, it's something that took us a year or two to kind of develop the first version. Then we've been iterating on it since then. So, like I said earlier, the broader our coverage is, the more valuable it is. So we're always focused on kind of increasing that.
Awesome. So thank you for taking a few minutes. I think there's definitely some people watching now, but more importantly, we've seen these things get tons of views over time.
Oh yeah.
Is there an ask for the audience that you have, like, anything that they can be helpful with to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's Q4, it's the push to the end of the year. We're always looking for new customers and for conversations. Like I mentioned, we believe that everyone who sells to the government is a customer of ours. We've watched, we have over 45 customers now. We have seen the incredible kind of top of funnel pipeline generation we've been able to do for them in the millions of dollars per customer. We're finding, on average 2 qualified opportunities a week for people. So for anyone, who sells in the government, I'd ask them, hey, what would you do with, what would 100 extra opportunities a year mean to your business with your close rate? So there's that. And then I kind of got into it, the solar and the renewables, but there's also a really big use case in land use. And so land use is something that's decided largely at the local level, right? And so, whether it's a law firm, renewable company, warehouse company, franchises, anyone who's interested in land use, we've seen ourselves be really, really helpful there as well. And so, and then I'm always down to talk to kind of technologists and people who are building products and building companies. It's always fun to just kind of share and swap. So if anyone's out there and they want to reach out to me, just find me on LinkedIn.
And I was going to say, how do people find you on LinkedIn? Is it the best way?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, I thank you for spending a few minutes with us. I appreciate it. It was awesome, informative, and good to see you.
Well, thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
All right. Bye.